Hey guys, Mike and Ricky here, and this week we are talking about the finale of Ahsoka. Super excited. Michael, how are you doing, sir?
Good. I got some good news. I mean, it's not about me, but a friend of mine. Well, good
Oh,
news.
okay.
It was a
Okay.
friend of mine. Because I'm trying to be happy for him. So
Okay.
anyway, he's he's been in agriculture for a long, long time, and
Mm-hmm.
he finally shut down his farm because it was getting
Oh,
expensive and sad, and he ended up getting a job with this
okay.
larger farm corporation. Um, and so, it's like been a month, from working out in the fields that he got
Mm-hmm.
promoted to a senior director
Oh,
at
wow.
he's a senior director at the old McDonald Farms, and he is the new CIEIO. And I'm really happy for him. He's, he deserves it. He's got a moo there and a, and a cluck cluck there.
It's the Speaking Dirty podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Pope. CIEIO.
Oh my gosh. Well, before we get started, here's a quick word from our friends at the Reverend and the Reprobate. No,
Ooh.
I said it
No?
wrong. I said it wrong.
No?
No,
Yeah?
because we haven't changed it yet.
We haven't changed it yet.
Well, before we get started, here's a quick word from our friends at Tatooine Sons.
Hey, nerds, this is David with Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation. There is a story, it is written on our souls, and that all of these myths speak to that story. And that is why every Tuesday I talk about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and Lord of the Rings and whatever nerdy things we can think of with my two sons, Sam and Nate. It is a 30 to 45 minute celebration of all the weirdness that we love so much. Basically, Mom said we couldn't talk about it at the kitchen table anymore, so we decided to start a podcast. We hope you'll check it out. It's on every podcast app out there. Tatooine Sons. That's Tatooine SONS.
Oh, Michael.
I think we fit them much better. I think we have a closer connection with them because they're reprobates, and I think that's yeah. I think
Maybe.
they get us. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Anyway,
Well, they did like our our reel that hit 1 million.
yeah. So that's good. That says
They
something.
enjoyed that. So,
That's good, and that's a
if you're
sign.
out there and you're looking at us going, you guys had a reel that hit 1 million.
I know.
It's on Facebook. Just know
It's
that it's on
yeah,
Facebook.
yeah.
It got a
You
few
know how much?
thousand on Instagram, but it
Yeah.
did better on Facebook.
And you know how much we got for it?
0. We made bubkus.
That's right.
Maybe one day.
I
One
know.
day someone will pay us to be on the mic and be stupid.
Man,
That is my goal in life.
that's my dream. I wake up every morning hoping that will happen. So what are we talking about tonight, by the way?
Ahsoka, the Ahsoka finale.
Oh my goodness. The finale. Man.
And maybe before we get started, maybe we should go ahead and give the people what they want. They want a spoiler alert.
Yes, they do. There you go.
So if you haven't watched episode 8 of Ahsoka, just pause right now, go watch
Pause
it.
it.
It's like 40 minutes long. Come back.
Yeah, it wasn't very long, was it?
No, it wasn't.
I was kind of surprised.
I was hoping for more, maybe one of those 50-minute episodes like the first one, but
Yeah.
no such luck. Oh well.
Yeah.
But shall we do some nerdy news before we get going with all the
Oh,
rest?
that'd be awesome. Let's do some nerdy news.
It's time for the nerdy happenings of the week.
So we gotta coordinate this thing. So I guess we should, like, when I do nerdy news, you do that for me, and
I
then you
was gonna
do
say
that, and then I do that
you
for
usually
you.
I was gonna say you
Yeah,
usually
'cause-
click the button for nerdy news, so
yeah,
that
because
was
the thing.
a little bit of a delay.
Well, yeah, and and I just didn't want to go done it, and then that awkward stop, and then start and stop, but that's okay. So, what do we got going on in the nerdy news this week?
Well, real quick, I do have some box office news like always.
Okay, good
There
deal.
were 4 new releases in the top 5 this week. So big changes in the top 5 domestic box office. Taking number 1 spot, kind of surprising, was a kids movie, Paw Patrol: The Mighty Movie. So when I say kids movie, I mean kid movie.
You mean for real?
For real kid movie.
Real.
So Paw Patrol, it took first place with $23 million domestically, and it had brought in $47 million worldwide at the end of the weekend. Saw 10, which is a drastic difference
Yeah.
between Paw Patrol and Saw 10.
Yeah, that's a yeah.
So between kids movie to horror movie,
Yes.
Saw 10 came in second place with $18 million domestically, and that is I believe they said that is the worst opening weekend for a Saw movie. So maybe it's time to stop.
Yeah.
Jason had more than 10 because Jason
Exactly.
10 was in space.
Yeah,
So-
that's right. Yeah.
The third place is a new Disney release called The Creator that looks really, really good. Have you heard about this movie?
I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about the movie.
A sci-fi movie, androids of some sort. It looks really good. I want to see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
The Nun 2, which has been in the top 5 for the last 3 or 4 weeks, comes in number 4. And the new biopic, The Blind, takes the 5th place. And that is the story of Phil and Kay Robertson. So, the Duck Dynasty people.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So it's a scripted biography pick about Phil and Kay and how they met and all that. And how the Duck Dynasty started.
The Ducks.
So that rounds out the top 5, which this means for the first time in like 8 or 9 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Barbie is not in the top 5.
Man, that's incredible.
Barbie's still in the top 10, but not in the top 5. So I'm not sure which is the big news, that Paw Patrol took the box office or that Barbie finally fell out of the top 5.
Where did I read somewhere where critics were saying that they were getting out of the business because they no longer had films to critique anymore, that everything was either superhero movies or toy movies? And I can't remember who said that, but I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway.
Well, some people like cinema and some people like entertainment.
Yeah,
I kind of like entertainment.
I like being entertained. So,
speaking of entertainment, the Hollywood writers' strike, you're familiar with that.
Yes.
Last week, we reported that there was a tentative agreement and that the union was saying this looks really good. They were waiting for contract text to come back. Apparently, the contract is official, and the union has started voting. and the union has until the 9th to vote. So
That's encouraging.
I'm not sure how the writers vote, but they've got basically a full week to vote. They started voting on Monday. They've got till this following Monday to make it official. So we technically won't know until all the votes come back.
Interesting.
Whether it's going to pass. And there's like 11,000 people that have to vote on it. And if enough people don't vote yes, it won't pass.
No.
Have to go back to the negotiating board.
Do you know any agreements that's been, I'm sure there's a ton of requests, a ton of stuff on the table, but anything that
definitely
that they've nailed?
So a couple of things. I think we mentioned maybe last week, we mentioned some of the AI stuff.
Yeah,
there's some agreement, and I don't have the specific wordings, but there's going to be some limit on how AI can work.
Okay.
As far as writing goes. And one thing I read said that if a writer came up with the idea, then AI was not going to be allowed to iterate the idea. So I'm a little less clear as to whether or not AI can come up with an idea and then writers work on it. I'm a little unclear on all that, but I thought that was interesting. But one of the big things was money. That was another big portion.
Well,
and there's been several things were agreed to that raise rates for different writers doing different things. But I think the biggest was the way residuals get paid for streaming services.
Okay.
And this one report says that various projects, feature-length projects made for streaming with a significant budget, and I'm not sure what significant budget is.
Yeah.
I think it means more than $10 million. I know significant sounds like a weird term, but in the contract, significant actually will have a definition.
Okay.
I've seen some of these before, but they'll receive a 26% increase in residual base made available to the writers.
Okay.
And along with this is a one-of-a-kind thing. They've never done this before. The agreement is going to force studios to share the audience data for original streaming programs, which will allow the writers to understand how much their shows are being watched.
There you go.
You and I talked about this weeks and weeks ago.
Yeah.
That the only way they were going to see a significant pay increase was if they had access to this information.
Yeah.
And the one thing they do say in this article is there is going to be a non-disclosure agreement that governs this stipulation, and the data cannot be made public. So the studios will know, the writers of that show will know, but they can't share it publicly.
Interesting.
But that gives a writer that does really, really well, gives them a big bargaining chip for his next project.
Exactly.
And
I think that's fair.
I think it's fair. And
I think it's fair.
I think this is one of the first times you and I have actually predicted something correct.
I think so. I mean, if I had some music or I had some celebration going on, I would do that right now. But
you could bring the kids out for us.
I could bring the kids. I didn't know the kids. We still have kids? Oh, hold on.
That's the only yay that I think we have.
Yeah, I think, Man, we haven't let them out in the closet for a while. I think they're teenagers now.
I know. But anyway, I think that's pretty interesting. Those are some significant things.
Oh, yeah.
And these are similar things to what the actors have been asking for. So since the studios have decided that this is a thing, that they're going to agree to this, it may be easier now for the actors to get what they're asking for.
Gotcha. Yeah.
A little unclear. Speaking of actors and their actor strike, that is still in place.
Yeah.
And technically, the writers' strike is technically still in place. But everybody seems to think this is going to pass because everybody's talking about opening writers' rooms and the late night shows are going to go back into production, kind of assuming that the writers will be there for them.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking they're jumping the gun
but the
a little
union
bit,
specifically said, don't go back to work until we tell you it's okay.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anything anywhere that they have announced that.
Gotcha.
But as far as actors go, apparently the actors and the union and the studios went into discussions on this past Monday, and we're recording Wednesday evening. So they went back into discussions today, Wednesday.
Gotcha.
So no words yet. Maybe we'll hear something tomorrow morning, Friday maybe, or at least we'll hear whether or not we're going to have to go, if they're going to have to go back, to the negotiating table again.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful that since the writer's strike looks like it's ending, I'm hopeful that the actor strike will be ending as well.
And why you folks out there should care about that, that's where we get our nerdy entertainment from. So that's why we're talking about it, because we have so much stacked up that that's holding us back right now. Marvel to Star Wars to
man, we're gonna for the next year, you're gonna see a lot of YouTube channels talk about old shows.
Exactly.
Go review including classic things, including us.
That's our goal.
Because there's just not going to be, there is going to be this big gap where nothing is going to come out.
After Loki, bye-bye, people. Something else.
Oh my goodness. That's all the nerdy news I have. Not a whole lot of news, but some pretty significant things. Do you have anything?
I do not, sir. I've got nothing. Like always.
Well, I guess that's the end of the nerdy news then.
Well, I guess that's what it is, and I guess I should click that button.
And that's all for the nerdy happenings of the week.
Man, better click that button. Okay. I think we got it. I think we're getting our vibe down. I mean, what? We only done this for how many years? 6 years or something?
I don't know. This is our fifth season.
Our fifth season for how long?
The fifth season's been going on for a couple of years now. We should probably eventually wrap up the fifth season and start a sixth season. Maybe January. We'll start the sixth season.
Yeah. It's probably why. Well, I don't know. I won't use that as an excuse for listeners not listening. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So should we do some stupid news now?
Oh, yes, please. Let's do some stupid news.
It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
I don't know about you, but I'm all about freaking out when I lose something, my phone or anything that's expensive, especially keys, anything that, but apparently a woman was rescued because of this. A woman was in the predicament where she had to be rescued, and it happened Tuesday from a outhouse toilet in northern Michigan. After she climbed in to retrieve her Apple Watch and become trapped.
Oh.
Yes.
Wait. She climbed in to retrieve her. This was not. Oh, you said outhouse.
Oh yeah.
My brain said porta potty. You said outhouse.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who don't understand the difference,
There's a difference.
There is a significant
Difference.
between a porta potty and an outhouse. A porta potty is a big plastic thing with a somewhat small container of liquid in it that holds all the gunk until they take it away.
Yeah.
An outhouse is a small building.
Yes.
With a very large hole under it.
Yes.
Where all of the gunk goes and stays.
Oh, that's nasty.
That's right. That's right. That is nasty.
Oh.
Well, the woman whose name was not released lowered herself.
My name released either.
I wouldn't either. Lowered herself inside the toilet after dropping the watch, state police said Wednesday. The first responder were called when the woman was heard yelling for help. The toilet was removed and a strap was used to haul the woman out. So, if you lose an item in an outhouse toilet, do not attempt to venture inside the containment area. Serious injury.
Write it off. It's gone.
It's gone.
No point in getting it back. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Oh, nasty.
Serious injury, among other things, can occur. And of course, the state police had released that on social media as well. So, state police did not say if the woman was injured or if the watch was recovered. So, I know
this is one of those. This is one of those. She gets home, and her family, friends go, Julie, where have you been? You've been gone for a long time.
Yeah.
What do you say?
What do you say? I mean, I'm trying to think of something. I just went to the out of the house to the outhouse, and took a while to get back out. Yeah, so consider it lost as far as I'm concerned. Chalk that up into bad investment. So, also on stupid news, and I don't know if you've heard about this new TikTok, Instagram celebrity, but Joe Henney took an unusual turn when he headed to the Citizens Bank Park to watch a Phillies game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Joey wasn't alone. He had a unique company named Wally the alligator. That's right.
He took an alligator to the baseball game.
Yes. Yeah. Apparently, he says a 5-foot long alligator that he adopted. Wally Gator had gained popularity on social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok due to the unusual presence that he has. Apparently, the story of Joey and Wally's friendship began when Joey helped relocate the alligator in Florida, from alligators in Florida whose home were being destroyed due to land development. So Joey brought Wally to his home in York County, and they've been inseparable ever since. I know, folks. But anyway, what makes and this is, I don't know. This is what makes Wally remarkable is that he's a atypical behavior. He has an atypical behavior as an alligator. Most alligators instinctively bite when interacted with, especially around their head. However, Wally allows people to touch his tongue and doesn't snap his jaws.
Okay.
Leaving the reasons for this unusual behavior a mystery. Now, I've seen photos out there where he's taken him into the water in the pool with kids. I've seen him where people are holding him and hugging him and giving him kisses. This is really, heck, yeah. So, so I personally, Anyway, he said Joey mentions that Wally likes to give hugs.
Must be out of your damn mind.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. He said he's played a significant role in helping him combat depression. However, Joey's attempt to bring Wally inside the Citizen Bank Park on one fateful Wednesday night went differently as planned. The stadium has a strict policy allowing only certified dogs or service dogs in training for guests with special needs. All other animals, including alligators, providing emotional support are prohibited. Apparently, that is what Wally is to Joey, is a emotional support pet, and apparently, this is him on a leash, getting ready to be turned away by the park security. So despite Joey's incident, he couldn't convince the stadium staff to let Wally Gator to join the game, leaving them outside of the ballpark. So there you go. That's
crazy.
What I like to call stupid news.
It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling. So I think my favorite part about that is he named him Wally Gator.
Yeah.
Do you know why that's significant?
Yeah, Wally Gator. That's Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera, yes.
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera Wally Gator is a character.
Exactly.
And so that's interesting.
Oh, I didn't mention that they have a T-shirt here too. It's called Wally the Emotional Support Alligator. So you can get one of the. You can actually buy them on TikTok or Instagram, wherever you can find Wally the Gator. Yeah, he has this. The thing is, the guy has more. The alligator is making more money than we are on this show. So I mean, I don't understand. But I
mean, there for a while, Pierre the fish was doing pretty decent on Instagram.
Yeah, he was doing really well.
He never really took off. For those who are not familiar with this really big throwback to many years ago.
Yes,
Pierre the fish was my daughter's fish, and when she went off to college, I started an Instagram for the fish.
Yes,
so that its mom, my daughter, could keep tabs on it while she was in college.
It's one of my favorite feeds. Yes.
Yep. And Pierre would friend all of my daughter's friends, which highly embarrassed her. They're like, why is there a fish following me, Olivia? And why are you the only person I know that's attached to this account? She's like, that's my dad. Just ignore it.
That's so sad. You try to anyway. So what are we talking about again tonight? Oh, that's right. We're talking about part 8.
Yes.
The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. That's their title tonight.
That is the lamest.
Miss, I know. I was hoping you would say something.
The Lion, the Witch, and the War. Oh wait, the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord.
Yeah.
So bad. The minute I saw the title, I was like, really?
Exactly.
I mean, all 3 of those things do exist.
Yeah.
In this episode,
Yes.
You've got a Jedi,
yes,
a couple Jedi. You have the witch, a couple witches, and you have the Warlord. You have Thrawn. So exactly. I mean, it makes sense, but man, that's cheesy.
That's pretty cheesy. I mean, they didn't work. They didn't work hard in that. I mean,
that's dad joke level right there.
Exactly. And it's not even funny in the sense of dumb funny. So
it was just
that's the thing.
I will say, of all the things in this episode, that is the thing that I am least impressed with.
Well, and that, maybe that's a good bar, I guess.
That could be a good bar.
If it's just the title. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, so this was a season finale, and it was 45 minutes, which we talked about earlier. I kind of wish it was longer. But at the same time, I mean, I guess they've, from what they showed was kind of long enough. And of course, there's a lot of, it's kind of the Empire Strikes Back episode, basically, if you want to call it that.
It is kind of.
Yeah,
and that, I think. Okay, so I don't know how much time you spend on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter.
Oh, like Prince. Okay.
Yeah, the platform formerly known as Twitter.
Okay.
But I follow a lot of people who are like Star Wars people. Like they, they are other podcasters, and like the name of their podcast has Star Wars built into the theme of their title.
That's all they do.
So that's all they talk about.
Yeah.
We talk about lots of different things.
Yes, we
that
do.
are nerdy, but they are all Star Wars all the time. And a lot of them were not happy with this episode.
I kind of heard some of that. I mean, like I said, we gave you the spoiler alert, and what we kind of do here, we don't go in any particular order. We're having a conversation. So if you're listening, make some comments and ask some questions. And if we, by any, just your opinion, and as well, if we make any mistakes, which we do make mistakes quite often,
absolutely.
Help us out. So what was some of the, I'm curious, what was some of, or should we talk about other things before we kind of comment on, or we talk about what their dislikes were? Or does it really matter?
I think it's a good place to start.
Okay.
But kind of a good place to start. But I want to ask you one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Were you disappointed in the episode? Don't tell what you were disappointed in with yet, if you were. But overall in the episode, were you disappointed?
I wasn't, I would say disappointed. Yeah, I would have liked to seen some other things. But I don't think I was disappointed.
I'm the same. There are some things I wish had been different.
Yeah.
There were some things I really wanted to see in this series.
Mm-hmm. Same
but
here.
Overall, I don't know I was disappointed because I feel like I knew this was where we were going.
Exactly. I felt the same way. I kind of already had a feeling where we were going, and also too, looking at it's funny looking at the whole, the business part of it, at the actual production, and knowing, and all the rumors, and knowing what's going to happen in a production next. It kind of helped me kind of puzzle things together to know, okay, well, these are the couple of things that are going to happen. Yeah. And sure enough.
Asking what people were disappointed with.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a good explanation of the specific things.
Yeah.
But overall, there were comments like, this was a boring episode.
Okay.
This episode, they didn't tie up any loose ends. They left so many things unanswered. And a few people brought the comment back to, oh, you didn't like this episode? Wait. But you loved The Empire Strikes Back, right? That's your favorite episode, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting comment to make.
I think so. I think that's
and you made the comment that this felt like an Empire Strikes Back, which I will say, and I have always said, Empire is not my favorite episode.
Yeah. What is it?
Because probably Return of the Jedi.
Return?
Yeah. But it's because it felt like it was a way to get from A New Hope to
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
It didn't, but everybody raves and rants about
Yeah.
how great
Yeah.
that episode,
Yeah.
that movie is. But for me, it was, I mean, yeah, there were some big reveals,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't solve anything. It didn't complete anything. It just left more problems unsolved. Well,
Yeah.
if that's what makes a good movie, then this was a great episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And it depends how you like that. And
Yeah.
I mean, I liked Empire Strikes Back, but I remember going to the movies and watching it. And when you go to the movies and, like anymore, you don't have streaming, back then you didn't have streaming services. When you go to the movies and it takes another 4 years for a sequel to come out,
Yes.
you're not happy when things are just open like that. You
Yeah.
go, okay, I got to wait for another 3 years before I see Return of the Jedi. So yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. I think most of the people that I saw that didn't like it,
Yeah,
felt like that this season, this series, not sure whether to call it a season or a series. But this, I'm going to call it series for now.
yeah,
It didn't answer any big questions,
yeah.
which I kind of disagree with. It answered some really big questions.
It did answer some questions in there.
The big questions were: is Ezra still alive? Yes.
Yes.
Is Thrawn still alive? Yes.
Yes.
Is Thrawn a threat to return? Yes.
Yes.
Is Ezra going to successfully return? And that was a big question mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a lot here in this series
it is.
that there were all these big unanswered questions from other shows. And
speaking of Ezra, I mean, Amon Esfandi, wonderful job. I mean, the guy was so good. I mean, I would love to see a spinoff just on him. I think it would be awesome. But yeah, I mean, I think for me is, well, I'll say it. Ezra, we know for sure he has a saber. He created a saber. That was kind of a nice, touching moment. I love that scene.
Yes. That may have been my favorite scene, actually.
I think that is my favorite scene. When he said, he said, Jarrus was my master. And Huyang, he's in there trying to say, hey, this is kind of like his kitchen, man. Get out of all my stuff.
Quit messing my stuff up.
And he says, he says, you don't know what you're doing. He said, I know what I'm doing. And anyway, he's trying to put stuff together. And that's when Sabine comes in and she makes the comment. He said, yes, Jarrus was his master. And then Huyang kind of lit up. He says, yes, I taught him how to make a lightsaber. I trained him. I trained all the younglings, which I thought was really cool. And that connection there. And you've seen Ezra going, oh, wow. And you can see a connection between Huyang and Ezra.
Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of Huyang saying, now it all makes sense.
Now it all makes sense. Yes.
and he reaches up and gets the exact part that Ezra has been looking for the whole time, because Huyang knew his master.
Yes.
Huyang taught his master. So he knew exactly what was needed. I loved that. That's
a great scene.
Great.
It was also, on a side note, you saw Sabine and you can tell there was this kind of a sadness because Ezra had that opportunity with the master and I thought that, of course, there was some good stuff there too. I think Sabine and Ahsoka they reconciled, and there was some good stuff there. But kind of going back to what we're talking about, I think my biggest thing, and it may be others, is that all of us would like to have the answer of, okay, how's this going to continue? Are we going to have I want to know, is there going to be another Ezra episode? Season?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to have, is this going to go right into another Mando episode? Is this going to be a spin-off of something else that bring all the characters in? Or is this going to be one of those deals that we're going to have to wait for Dave Filoni to put this within a Mandoverse movie that he's been given to head up, which I don't even know the writing has begun yet. Well, we had a writer strike, so there you go.
Yeah.
So again, I think that may be some of the stuff too, because it's like some people are concerned that, is this going to be dropped and forgotten? Because Disney has done some of that stuff, where they've kind of gone, okay, we're not going to drop this as canon and do something else. So I think that makes me nervous, where it's like, I like Ahsoka. I really, I thought this was going to be all about Ahsoka, and I was excited about Ahsoka, but it seems like, but as this season has gone on, I'm kind of really excited about Ezra. I want to see what Ezra's going to do, and Sabine. I've really, Sabine started to grow on me, but Ezra, I really like. I like his character. I love the actor, and I would like to see something with him, because spoiler alert, we did it already. He force jumped onto Thrawn's ship, disguised as a stormtrooper, or a dark trooper, and he makes it back to the rebel base, to the rebel fleet, and here I am. And of course, I'm sure from that they all find out about the return of Thrawn.
Yes.
But it was a great scene where, he lands on the ship coming out with the helmet on his head. They're all bracing, with their, blasters and their rifles, and only one that really knew who it was Chopper. So, Chopper knew right away who that was. But
why is it that it's so easy to simply steal a stormtrooper's outfit?
Yeah, exactly.
And fit in.
Luke Skywalker, you're kind of short to be a stormtrooper. But
honestly, when Ezra picked up the communicator,
yes,
I really wanted him to say, everything's fine here. How are you?
How are you?
I so wanted him to say it.
I know.
But that would have, only because they've said some weird things like that already in this season.
Well, there's some weird stuff too. Like there's a thing where Sabine and Ahsoka, they're talking, and she talks about how I also support you. My master. He always had my back. We are.
Yeah.
Everything is happening for the reason it's supposed to be happening. But she asks Sabine. She says, "Have you been keeping up with your training?" Sabine says, "Well, I've tried." And then she says, kind of a little chuckle, she says, "Well, the whole Yoda thing, there's no try, there's do, and she makes the comment, he said, "Yes, I am." It was almost like this callback to Luke Skywalker and Yoda saying there's no try, there's do or don't. So
that was a great line.
Yeah, there's little stuff like that throughout the show.
And I also like this. There's a little disconnect with Sabine still.
Yeah, still.
Because she says, I'm getting better with my lightsaber. I have better control. Yes. And earlier, she tried to hand the lightsaber to Ezra, previous episode.
Yes, exactly.
Previous episode. Mm-hmm. And he says, a Jedi doesn't have to depend on his lightsaber. So that's one. And then in this scene that you're referring to, Ahsoka says a Jedi isn't all about wielding a lightsaber.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so there is this thing that Jedis understand
Yes.
that Sabine hasn't connected with quite yet. And
Now
it's this
yeah,
idea that, and
yeah,
which goes back to the why Sabine left her in the first place, because Hu Yang tells it pretty
yes, the
openly.
story.
He tells the story that she left Sabine because she felt like Sabine was training for the wrong reasons,
Yeah,
and it has to do with her Mandalorian upbringing
yeah,
and weapons being such a big part of her being, that
yes,
she's connected with this lightsaber. She
yeah.
hasn't connected with the idea
Yeah.
of being a Jedi yet,
Well,
which
and she was
I think
really,
is
yeah.
fascinating.
And I think she was concerned too because Sabine lost her parents during the purge,
Hmm.
and she didn't want to teach her how to become a Jedi for revenge, and then see her go to the dark side, which is
Are we
my
are we going to see Darth Sabine in the future?
I I don't well, I don't think so. I
You
don't
don't
think
think so?
so.
Okay.
No, I
Okay.
don't think so. I don't think they're going to go there.
You don't think they'll
Just
go
my
there?
personal. No, I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think so. I mean, now what they're going to do, being left on that planet, I don't know. They just kind of Ahsoka kind of accepts it. Yeah, we're here. We're kicking
Yeah.
it.
I
But so
know.
it's yeah, we're just kicking it. And then of course too, you haven't seen Shin this whole time, and all
Mhm.
suddenly at the end she's with the bandits that she fought with before,
Yes.
and she has her lightsaber ignited, which don't know what that's all about. It's almost like maybe this is her new clan. I don't know. And then
Yeah.
of course Balin Skull finds, he's looking at the statues, which is one of them, the gods of Mortis, which it was the
Okay.
face of the father, and then he
Is this the
represents
father,
Alice
the daughter, and the son thing?
and the son. Yes,
Okay.
it's kind of like Star Wars version of the Holy Trinity. That's
Yeah.
that whole thing, if you want to use that. So, which was talked about during the Clone Wars and the animated
I
series.
thought
So,
that's what that was supposed to be.
yeah,
And it's interesting that this is where he found it.
yeah,
Um and I'm super sad
yeah. I
that,
know.
is it Ray Stevens, is that the name of the
Yeah,
actor,
Ray Stevens.
that he's passed away. And if we ever get to see that story, it's either going to be comic books or a novel, or
Yes,
they're going to have to replace the actor.
I don't know
And
how they're
I
going to do
just
that.
don't know. I don't know if it'll, I mean, maybe they get the right guy, maybe they can do it. But I feel like we're probably, if we ever see anything on that story, it's going to be in comics or it's going to
It's
be in a
gonna,
novel.
yeah, that, and it's because more than likely the continuation. I think the easiest thing to do is you don't have to write them off. You don't have to replace replace them with another actor for the
Hmm.
character. You can just kind of let it go, and
Yeah.
then let it become canon within writing, or like you said, with
Yeah.
comics and novels. It's sad because I really think that he's to me he's one of the most fascinating characters throughout the entire series. His story I want to know more about, and
My big concern is that
and
Filoni had big plans for this character.
I really do. I think
And
so,
now
and I
he's going to
think
have to
it's
rewrite his plans
and how that's
if
going to
he
affect everything else.
if
Yeah,
he decides not to recast
yeah.
Balin. Um,
So
I feel like Shin is probably going to be a pawn somewhere along the way,
yeah,
but and maybe a troublemaker, but I don't
yeah,
think she's going to be a huge player in the future. Like
yeah,
I never felt really super strongly attached to her character.
yeah. Me
Um,
neither.
I I really go back to I this is the Darth Sabine comment.
Yes,
I really did want to see Balin take Sabine under his wing and
that would
Shin
have been
become the
cool.
outsider all of a
That
sudden.
that would have been I think that would be a good story.
And I
I
think
do
at
like
that
that.
point we could have gotten a Darth Sabine of sorts.
Yeah.
But you're probably right. We probably won't ever go there. So with Ezra returning,
Yeah.
Thrawn returning,
Mm-hmm.
Sabine and Ahsoka stuck on this planet with the turtle
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Where do you think we're going? I mean, do you feel like we need a second season before a movie? Or do you feel like we can dive right into a movie?
I think we can dive into a movie. Man, I want another season.
I do too.
Um, I I think there's so much more that can be done, and since we're not looking at doing a trilogy of the story in a movie, I think a second season
Mm-hmm.
would I think I think would be relevant, and then you can take that, and if you're going to do any other Mandos or whatever, you can
Mm-hmm.
do a movie from there, because you're going to have to introduce these characters back in again if you're going to do a Mandoverse of some kind. That's my personal, because the last thing we see is the sisters in Thrawn coming to Darth Maul, and they have a ship full of these boxes, which we know is from the catacombs, and we're going to see the Walking Dead probably, because that's what we've seen. We saw, in this, for me, I really picked through Thrawn and his character and how he's being portrayed, and there was a couple of things that kind of got my attention, and I wrote some notes about.
Okay.
One, Thrawn. Well, I'll mention a couple of things. In one scene, when the gang, Ahsoka and Sabine and Ezra, they're trying to storm to the tower so they can get up to the ship. Thrawn makes a comment. He says there will be no negotiating with an apprentice of Anakin Skywalker.
Yes.
Then later on we have Thrawn saying, when he basically, before they take off, he calls Ahsoka's ship, and he does this kind of this dialogue, and I'm gonna and this is verbatim what he said. He said, "I'm sorry we haven't met face to face. I know you because I knew your master. I've come to the conclusion that your strategy would be the same. I wonder if you'll become like a Ronin. Perhaps this is where you belong. Today, as victory is mine. Long live the Empire." Now, if you kind of go back on some of the books, even the Legend book, Thrawn and Vader were peers. And there was kind of a competition between the two of them to have favor with Emperor Palpatine.
Right.
So you can almost sense this dislike towards Vader or Anakin. There's almost this, you can almost feel the disdain, not a whole lot, but you can just kind of feel that there was a competition between the two, because he kind of speaks of Anakin in a more derogatory way.
Yeah.
And I think he's more referring to Vader himself. And I think
absolutely.
And he blames Vader, I'm sure. And then this is me now, kind of vicariously thinking as Thrawn, thinking you're the reason why everything has failed. You allowed your son to destroy the Empire. And so I think there's a lot of that there. So anyway, I find it interesting. There's a other thing too, where he's kind of interesting to me. There's two things where when Thrawn sends out his two TIE fighters to come after Sabine, Ahsoka, and Ezra, later on he's told by Enoch that they did take out the ship, but they were also destroyed. Now he made the comment, he said, well, they're lost, and be sure, to mark the captain for a citation. I thought that was interesting. It said, I find it interesting that Thrawn tells Enoch to mark captain for a citation. And the reason I think that's kind of interesting is that he has some type of it's almost like he has, I don't want to say he cared for his troops, but there's kind of this honorable consideration for those under his command. It was the same thing when Morgan now had command of the volunteer night troopers, that she was sending, in the battle. He asked, do they know what they're volunteering for? And she makes the comment. She said, yes. She says, they will fight for you, Thrawn. And of course, Thrawn replies back and corrects her by saying, it's for the Empire, not me. So there's this really, Thrawn is a really interesting character. It's not, I don't want to say pure evil. He believes in the Empire, bringing the Empire back. He doesn't see himself as the king of the Empire. He may be the heir of the Empire. He may be the word on plays, but play on words there. So, but Thrawn, there's a lot, Mike, some of the things that I mentioned about Thrawn, does anything throughout this series that you picked up about his personality, his character? There's almost like this oxymoron. If there's something there that kind of, he's a complicated character.
Yeah, it is interesting that he on one hand, he's perfectly fine with losses.
Yes, he is.
He has no problem sending people out on a death mission.
Yes.
He has no problem with that. But at the same time, he honors them for their willingness to do it.
Yes.
And so it is a complicated relationship he has.
Yeah.
There's this interesting, military drive that is, we will win, the Empire will return, and we will win at all costs. But at the same time, he's not going to risk losing everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Either.
He's calculated. He's a very calculated person.
He takes calculated risks.
Yes.
And he is willing to accept acceptable losses. And it's an interesting idea. He's very cool and collected and calm about all of it. He never gets excited about anything.
No.
Now, there are some things, and I'm not sure how much of this is Legends now.
Yeah.
And how much of it is still canon. But I guess there's this storyline of his original people, where he came from.
Yes.
That they were overrun by some other group.
Yes.
That is in this uncharted area that he is from. And there's I don't know if this is speculation or if this is legitimately canon, but a belief that he wants to see the Empire rise up because he believes the Empire is the only way to stop this other evil from taking over the whole galaxy in the future.
He makes a comment too that have, what's the whole idea of the Empire to bring, what's the comment that's always made about to bring not control to the galaxy, but to bring
stability,
something like that.
Yeah.
There's a
peace isn't the right word.
No, it's not. To bring order to the galaxy.
Order to the galaxy, yes.
And so, so I can see Thrawn a big believer of that, and he believes the Empire is the only way, because if he looks at it, well, compared to the New Republic, I mean, or even the Old Republic, I mean, in comparison, if you want to look at results between the two, then you can go, yeah, the Empire was able to, for the most part, keep control, in the Empire, before the the rebellion. But
So
I go ahead.
I have a big question, and this gets super weird.
Okay.
We have Night Sisters. We have The
Mhm.
Walking Dead.
Yes.
We have the Night Sisters returning with Thrawn.
Yes.
We know there are other things in other shows that have
Yes.
all pointed to the sequels.
Yes.
Do you think the Night Sisters are somehow the Emperor returned?
If
Do
you're
you
going
think
to,
that's where we're going?
if we need an explanation to it, that would probably be my best guess. If they can bring back the dead, of course, again, in the bringing back the dark troopers, when you heard them, they were basically, they weren't themselves anymore. They,
No.
you heard that they were zombies, basically the living, the Walking Dead. But and you have all those boxes, which are I believe they're caskets of some kind from the catacombs.
Yeah, I think so too.
And in that scene, there was like, I don't want to say millions of them, but there was a cargo ship just full of them. It was amazing, and I believe that's going to be Thrawn's army.
I think so.
And so, which is pretty wild, because we saw how hard it was for Sabine and Ahsoka and Ezra to take them out. I mean, even with a lightsaber, they go down and they come back up again.
They come back up again.
Yeah. So, one thing I don't think, I kind of have a feeling that Morgan Elsbeth, she kind of got a raw deal.
Yeah, a little bit.
She got her, her reward from the Night Sisters, being a sister now. But at the very end, she was called to stay behind to be a sacrifice, which at first I kind of saw this confusion, and then she accepted it. Yeah. And then, of course, she got beheaded, or not beheaded, but sliced in half. I didn't see anything. I didn't see ashes and stuff flying out of her.
And so I don't think she's coming back.
No, I think she's done. But I don't know. Overall, I thought the episode was fine. I would have liked to have. I didn't need to see a fight between Thrawn and the New Republic yet. But there is some stuff I would have liked to see more of. A good question, like you said. I think the biggest thing, and we've talked about it earlier, and it probably will be our kind of the big focus. What is next? What's going to happen next? I mean, we talked about it earlier. Is it going to be? Are we going to go right to a movie? Are we going to have Mando 4? Ahsoka 2? What are they going to do with Balin? His story. Are we still looking at The Walking Dead on Darth Maul? We've got. Is Ezra going to have a spinoff, or there's so many things that we don't know. And I think that's most of the complaints when you don't know what's going to happen next, and this is what you're given. I can see why so many people are going, okay, this is not, I don't know what's going to happen next. I said, is anything's going to happen next? Because this by itself, I'm not happy with. And I think that's what we're kind of running into. I thought it was very cute when they said, well, you loved Empire Strikes Back. This is what this is. But we all knew that there was going to be a movie. We knew there was going to be Return of the Jedi. We knew that was coming. That was part of the plan. But right now, Disney has been so far, this is not Lucas's Star Wars anymore. It's not his laid out, his plan. And I love Dave Filoni, but there's so many other people involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were several, Watiki,
Yeah.
he was supposed to do something and that was taken away from him.
Yeah.
There's several series that were supposed to come out that didn't happen and fell through. So there's this kind of nervousness of this kind of this, for me, I'm nervousness about what's going to happen. Are we,
will we actually get
yeah,
a completed storyline? That is a big question. I feel like if we do only get a movie, if that's where we're going, I feel like there needs to be a decently sized time jump.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a interesting thing in if we go back to the Empire Strikes Back storyline. I don't know if you were reading Star Wars comic books back in the day, but there's a bunch of comic books with a bunch of storylines between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
But it's silly that they exist because at the end of Jedi, they specifically say, we'll meet you at the rendezvous on Tatooine. They know exactly where they're going, and they're going to go there within days, weeks, months, not years.
Yeah, exactly.
This is already a done deal. But there was a 3-year gap or 4-year gap in between movies. So there were all these comic books that were written that had to have storylines. So they chase all these wild storylines that don't matter. But with this, I think for it to, if they go straight to a movie, I think they need to have some kind of time jump.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're going to be able to sufficiently wrap up all these storylines in a single movie. We'll have to have that. Oh yeah, here's how we got home. From Sabine for Sabine. We finally had our last run in with Shin, and unfortunately she didn't want to come with us. We had to kill her. Whatever. We're going to have to hear that in dialogue and wrap that all up quick. But
which is sad because I think there's more to the story, and that's sad to me. I want that filler. I want to know.
I think it would be brilliant to have another season of Ahsoka about how she gets home.
Yeah.
Or have, like you said, an Ezra show where he is, he's joining the Republic and he's starting to lead the way on this defense against Thrawn.
Yeah.
And we get an episode or so where we find out how Ahsoka and Sabine finally escape the planet, a la, Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. Exactly.
Where we get the side story all of a sudden that we have to follow for 2 episodes.
Which I think is needed. I think it's neat. I think it'd be, again, if they're going to go right to a movie, I agree with you. They're going to have to, fast forward to make it happen. Yeah. But it's going to feel empty to me because there's so much that should have been said, should have been told.
I think it would be better if we get another series.
Yeah.
One or the other, however you write it.
Yeah.
Call it Rebels,
whatever. Yeah.
Call it whatever. Call it Thrawn. Call it Thrawn for that matter.
Or call it Rangers of the New Republic.
There we go.
You have the squadron there. You have,
But I think that would be a better move than going straight to a movie.
I agree.
I think what we need is another cliffhanger season.
Yes.
that ties everything up and brings us to the last battle. Because all of the good Star Wars movies
Yes.
are really about one battle. And
Yes.
it's just how we get there.
Yeah.
You know, there's the like Revenge of the Sith. That movie is really about the battle of uh, Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's
Yeah.
just a movie about how we all get there.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
it's
Return of the Jedi is all about the last battle on Endor and, you know, Luke and the Emperor and how we all get there.
well, you have so many characters. You think about it like a comic book story arc. You have all these separate comic books that try to lead to the same thing. So
Yeah.
you have a Mando series leading to that while that's going on. You have a Ahsoka series leading to that point. You have, I mean, I still like Cobb Vanth. I wish we were kind of left with a cliffhanger with him. And
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's kind of been dropped because maybe the lack of popularity for the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know.
Probably.
That's kind of how I feel about that. But there's a lot to happen. And, and while that's going on, you're doing the movie. You're in the background writing the movie. You're in the background. Yeah. We're going to greenlight doing the movie. But you still have these series on hand to build up to it. So that way, when the series is done, hey, we got the movie ready and we're going to pump it out for the next holiday and make some money off of it.
I think this series would have gone down better with people if there was a green light for something in between.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that is the big thing that has put people off.
I agree with that.
If it had just said we've already green lighted season 2 of Ahsoka, we've already greenlit an Ezra series, we've already greenlit a Thrawn series, whatever it is.
Well, it's like Marvel.
If they
they're
had
brilliant.
just said that.
Like with Marvel, at the very end, Ahsoka 2 is coming, or like Marvel does. They let you know, hey, we're not leaving you hanging. Something else is coming.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue with most people, that they're kind of what you said early on. You're fearful because you've seen things drop through the cracks before. Yeah. I just feel like Filoni is enough of a force in the process.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a big enough name now that that he will keep pressing the issue until till his big vision has been completed. Whatever that is. Yeah. It would just be nice to have. I was going to say, you mentioned Marvel. It's nice when Marvel lays out a roadmap.
Yeah, exactly.
And we go, okay, I can see how we're going to get there eventually.
Yeah.
We just don't have a roadmap right now for Star Wars.
No.
We have a few things that have been talked about, but we don't have a big roadmap other than
we talked about
Filoni says he's going to do a movie.
Well, I mean, we mentioned this in the last episode, how we kind of feel like, Filoni probably wouldn't agree with the sequels. But now he's forced in a situation where he has to make the two bridge.
Yeah.
And so he wants to tell his story at the same time he has to keep that story in the back of his mind.
Yeah.
So I think that is the challenge for him. I mean, who knows? He may like it. I don't know. But being a Star Wars nerd that he is, and I can't help but think that he would have done things differently concerning the sequels. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I think if the sequels didn't exist, I think he would have a different picture.
Yes, I think he. Yeah, I totally agree.
Keeping them canon, I do kind of like how it appears that he's trying to tie things together.
Yes, he is.
I mean, dropping all the cloning stuff in to Mando.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that idea of, okay, this happened, so here's some ideas of what was going on.
Exactly.
It's not really the main focus of my story, but I'm going to fill in some gaps for you while I'm telling the story I want to tell.
Yeah.
And kind of like with this, you know, if he is allowed to use the Night Sisters to now explain somehow the Emperor returned, that's kind of cool.
That is cool, and I can see that happening, and that could be Thrawn's. That could be, he wants to bring back the Empire, and Thrawn is probably a main instrument of that happening, a main tool for that happening.
And it makes sense. You mentioned this earlier. Thrawn doesn't say it's not for his glory.
No,
it's not for Thrawn's glory. It's for the Empire.
Yes.
And the idea that he brings back the Empire by bringing back the Emperor actually makes really good sense.
Yeah.
Just with the way his character is.
Yes.
So I do kind of like that.
But who knows, right? Who knows? What do we know?
Who knows?
Right? Who knows, folks? But do you know, or you have comments, then put a comment down below and make sure it's something that I hadn't seen the other day. Some comments somebody made someone made a comment on our last show, dangle your part of something or other. They were talking about dangling something. I don't know if you saw the comment or not, but don't do that. Parsippledal or something. I don't know. But anyhow, forget about that, folks. One thing I want you to do is check out speakingnerdy.com. There we have our link to our YouTube channel, which also youtube.com/speakingnerdy. Like, subscribe, follow, please. We have also our Facebook page, Speaking Nerdy. You can join, follow. We got a group as well. So all that stuff, go to speakingnerdy.com. All that information is there. All the links are there. Also check us out. You can also listen to us on any of your favorite audio podcasts. We're there. So anyway, and the next thing's coming up is Loki, correct?
Yes. Loki is, this episode should come out Friday. Yes. And Loki will have come out at 8 p.m. Central Time the day before.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the first episode of Loki, and from there next week, and we'll figure out if we're going to continue that route or not. But we have some other things coming down the pike, so be sure to check up with us, and we'll let you know what's going on.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
This has been the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend, blah, 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 Ricky Pope. You like that? Did that work out okay?
Oh my gosh.